Deep beneath the towering hive cities of Necromunda lies the Underhive, a realm of toxic wasteland, rotting infrastructure, and endless violence. Amid this ever-present chaos, the Scavies dwell, mutated, forgotten, and forever desperate. These remnants of humanity are survivors in the truest sense, having adapted to the harshest conditions imaginable. While the rest of Necromunda's inhabitants scrape by in the toil of manufactorums, manual labour, and unending servitude to the Imperium's tithes, the Scavies remain below civilization, clinging to life in the bowels of the planet, discarded by society and driven by hunger and base savagery. Shunned by all the most desperate, the Scavies live a brutal existence on the edge of extinction. Yet, in their fight for survival, they embody the raw willpower and grim determination of humanity, twisted by the cruelty of their environment. These creatures, with their bloated limbs, grotesque mutations, and hunger for anything they can catch, are a living testament to Necromunda's legacy of excess, corruption, and decay. The physical deformities of the Scavies serve as a grim reminder of the toxicity that permeates the very air of Necromunda. Their bodies, twisted by disease, chemical exposure, and cruel mutation, reflect the planet's foul atmosphere and the corruption that festers within it. For most Scavies, survival means contending with their own physical deterioration. The Scavies' mutations are vast and varied. Many are simply deformed beyond recognition. Misshapen limbs, elongated necks, and disfigured faces marred with boils and tumours. Some may bear extra limbs, while others suffer from incomplete or damaged bodies that leave them permanently hobbled. Some mutations, however, offer a horrific advantage. Certain Scavies are born with a degree of regenerative power, enabling them to heal rapidly from their wounds, while others might possess an unnatural strength or enhanced endurance. These individuals are often pressed into service as enforcers or warriors, their twisted forms becoming instruments of fear and control in the gangs. The constant exposure to Necromunda's toxic environment makes the Scavies not only hideous to behold, but also infectious. The air around them is thick with the stench of decay, and their presence is accompanied by the foul odours of rotting flesh and spoiled food. This stench is often a prelude to death, as Scavies harbour countless diseases that could cripple or kill any who come too close. For Scavies, their very bodies are a battleground, each step through the bad zones and wastelands a fight against disease, decay, and mutation. The harshness of life in the Underhive is reflected in their appearance, a grotesque mockery of humanity's potential. For the Scavies, life is not a privilege, but a constant struggle. There is no hope for prosperity or advancement, only survival, day by day, amidst the refuse and detritus of the Underhive. Scavvy society is built upon the foundation of necessity rather than trust or loyalty. The bands and gangs that make up the Scavvy population are often small and disorganized, held together by the primal need for food, safety, and survival. Loyalty amongst the Scavvies is often fleeting, as each member knows that any day could be their last. Trust is something to be earned, and loyalty is measured by strength, cunning, and a shared willingness to endure whatever horrors Necromunda throws at them. At the top of these ragtag bands are the Scavvy kings, ruthless leaders who have clawed their way to power through brutality and manipulation. These kings wield control not through charisma or diplomacy, but through force and fear, often relying on mutated enforcers, weirds, or even brute strength to maintain their rule. The rule of a Scavvy king is never secure, and betrayal is a constant threat. Leaders who grow weak or fail to provide for their followers often find themselves usurped, and the slightest sign of weakness can lead to a swift and savage end. The Scavvies are no strangers to backstabbing, and in this world of constant warfare, only the strongest survive. With food always in short supply, the Scavvies are notorious for their cannibalistic practices. They have been known to raid other settlements, abducting both civilians and rival gang members to feast upon. In the Underhive, it is said that if you are not strong enough to fight for your survival, you become food for those who are. In times of extreme hardship, Scavvy bands will often butcher their own people in order to survive, the weak and wounded never safe from the pot. The Scavvies are not known for their diplomacy. Their interactions with other hivers are often limited to raids or exchange of goods or hostages under duress. However, some Scavvies have been known to broker deals with the more unscrupulous merchants, offering up salvage, scrap metal or interesting relics in exchange for weapons, food, or more valuable technology. Scavvy bands do not hesitate to raid rival gangs, settlements, or even the occasional merchant convoy. They steal anything they can use, sell, or eat, with little regard for the lives of others. When they cannot raid, they may resort to extortion, demanding protection money from traders or weaker gangs in exchange for safe passage through their territories. Scavies do engage in trade, but only with those who are desperate or foolish enough to risk dealing with them. They often barter in salvage, offering parts from ruined vehicles, scrap metal, or biological remains they harvest from the bodies of fallen enemies. These rare commodities are of some value in the Underhive, especially to those who need parts for machinery or have a taste for exotic goods. The Scavies do not fight alone in the Underhive. They are often accompanied by monstrous allies, mutants and horrors that serve as both weapons and enforcers. Two of the most feared creatures in the Underhive are the Scavies and the plague zombies. Scavies are a species of mutant abhumans, their appearance as terrifying as their abilities. These hulking reptilian creatures are typically found among Scavvy bands, where they serve as guardians and warriors. Scavies are massive, their thick, scaled hides providing formidable protection. They are often as broad as a man is tall, and their strength is beyond human comprehension. Their reptilian nature grants them the ability to regenerate lost limbs, making them nearly unstoppable on the battlefield. While Scavies are not known for their intelligence, they are capable of basic problem solving and communication. Their mutations prevent them from speaking human languages clearly, but they understand the commands of their Scavvy masters. Scavies are prized for their combat prowess. They wield large, brutal weapons from cleavers to massive improvised spears. Many are also equipped with heavy weapons like scattercannons or blunderbusses capable of devastating any who dare face them in battle. Their presence on the battlefield strikes terror into the hearts of those who would oppose the Scavies. Plague zombies, the mindless undead, are another horrifying ally of the Scavies. These creatures are the result of the zombie plague. The zombie plague is both a physical and spiritual contagion. It preys upon those whose faith is weak, turning them into mindless zombies that follow only one command: to spread the contagion further. Plague zombies are the archetype of the undead, slow, shambling, and insatiably hungry for flesh. They are difficult to kill, requiring a traumatic blow to the head to put them down permanently. Some Scavvy leaders, particularly those with weird powers, can control these creatures, using them as weapons of terror. By luring the zombies with food or other bait, they unleash them upon unsuspecting enemies, softening targets before the Scavies strike with their full force. The zombies serve as both a shield and a weapon, overwhelming their enemies with sheer numbers. Several figures have risen to legendary status among the Scavies. These Scavvy kings and leaders have etched their names into the bloody history of the Underhive, their deeds immortalised in whispered tales of terror and betrayal. Karloff Valois was a mutant weird and psychic outcast who, after nearly succumbing to starvation and the zombie plague, discovered he could control the very undead that had almost consumed him. With his newfound powers, Valois forged alliances with Scavvy bands, commanding legions of plague zombies and leading devastating raids across Necromunda. King Blacknose the 81st. Blacknose, a brutal and ambitious Scavvy king, united various Scavvy bands into a single fearsome force. Under his reign, vast swathes of the Underhive were laid waste, his armies of mutants and zombies driving all before them. However, Blacknose's ambition ultimately led to his downfall, betrayed by his followers. The Beggar King. The Beggar King ruled through guile and manipulation, using his cunning to infiltrate settlements and bring them under his control. Disguised as a lowly outcast, he wormed his way into positions of power before unleashing his Scavvy hordes. His reign of terror lasted years before his eventual downfall at the hands of rival gangs and bounty hunters. The Scavies are an unyielding symbol of Necromunda's unrelenting brutality. Forgotten by all but the most cursed, they represent humanity's darkest aspects, its cruelty, desperation, and capacity for savagery. They endure not because they are supposed to, but because they refuse to die. They are the bogeymen of the Underhive, a tale told to children to keep them in their beds at night, but also a harsh reminder of the balance between the everyday struggle of hive life and what happens when that thin veil of societal safety and relative normality collapses into the abyss of human depravity and base instincts.